Imagine the chaos from World War Z. In just a few minutes, the whole city falls apart. And right in the middle of all that panic, the infected come charging through the crowd, biting anyone they can reach. That's the classic zombie outbreak we see in movies. One bite. A few seconds later, the person turns. And somehow, just a few days later, the whole world is gone. But let's slow down for a second. If the real laws of biology, physics, and disease still applied, would the world really turn into World War Z that fast? Or would science take the apocalypse in a completely different direction? Let's break it down with What If Explained TV. First, could zombies even exist in real life? These days, Hollywood doesn't always show zombies as dead bodies crawling out of graves. A lot of modern zombie stories blame it on a virus, a parasite, or a fungus. In World War Z, people become violent, out of control, and obsessed with attacking others. In a way, it feels like a much more extreme version of rabies. And in The Last of Us, the danger comes from cordyceps fungus. That part is based on something real. Cordyceps really does exist. It can infect insects, mess with their behavior, and use their bodies to spread. That sounds creepy. But doing that to a human is a completely different story. A human body is way more complicated than an insect. The brain is far more complex, the immune system is stronger, and body temperature is completely different. Human behavior is also nowhere near as simple as an ant following a chemical signal. So, could some kind of zombie disease exist? In theory, it's possible. But for something like that to happen in the real world, it would need an almost ridiculous amount of luck. Now let's say it somehow does happen. The next question is, how would it spread? In movies, it usually spreads through bites. Someone gets bitten, turns within seconds, and starts attacking people. It's scary to watch, but it's actually a terrible way for a disease to spread. If the infection reveals itself that quickly, people notice, and the outbreak becomes much easier to contain. A virus like that could destroy a few neighborhoods, maybe even a few nearby cities. But a global pandemic would be much harder. It's simply too obvious, making it much harder to spread. If a zombie pathogen wanted to become truly dangerous, it would need a better strategy, one that lets infected people look normal for a while. And that's the scary version. Not a zombie screaming in the middle of the street, but someone who is already infected and looks completely normal. The infection could spread through saliva, blood, or other bodily fluids. It may not spread as quickly as the flu, but that could actually make it more dangerous. An infected person could travel far and spread it to many others before anyone realizes they are sick. By the time the first person finally snaps in public, the problem is no longer just, how do we lock down this one city? The real problem is, how many infected people are already hiding in plain sight? The person next to you, are they fine? Or are they about to become the start of something much worse? That's the kind of scenario that could tear society apart. And it would be especially dangerous for the military. In zombie movies, the military usually looks strangely helpless. But in real life, it would not be that simple. A crowd of zombies that can only run, bite, and charge forward would have a very hard time against modern military weapons. If zombies attack from the outside, the military has a lot of ways to stop them. So if the virus wants to bring down the military, it can't just attack the front gate. It has to get inside. The infected could still look like any other soldier. They could report for duty and live alongside their teammates without anyone realizing they were infected. Until one case erupts at the worst possible moment. From that point on, the challenge is no longer just about eliminating threats beyond the perimeter. It becomes a crisis of trust. The military can no longer be certain who among them is still uninfected. And that is when the virus finally has a real chance to destroy the defense system from within. But let's take it even further. Let's say the outbreak gets completely out of control. Cities fall, society breaks down, zombies are everywhere, and there's no military left to stop them. Could zombies survive for decades, like in The Walking Dead? The answer is probably not. No matter how dangerous the virus is, it still needs a human body to move around, and the human body has limits. It needs energy, water, and functioning organs just to keep going. In the first few days, zombies could still be extremely dangerous. They might move quickly and ignore pain, but their bodies would still be burning energy. Without enough food, water, rest, or medical care, that body would gradually begin to fail. Within a week, many would already start to slow down. By the end of the first month, muscle loss would become obvious. A few months in, injuries, dehydration, and infection would leave many of them seriously weakened. By the time half a year has passed, many might be little more than badly deteriorated bodies that can no longer chase anyone. So humans wouldn't necessarily have to kill every zombie. If zombies are still biological bodies, time would do a lot of the work. They might be dangerous at first, but eventually their own biology would become their biggest weakness. And that's one of the biggest differences between zombies and movies, and what real biology would allow. But that doesn't mean the world would bounce back easily. Even if the zombies eventually disappear, civilization may not come back with them. Modern life depends on complex systems and millions of people keeping those systems running every day. Once those systems collapse, you can't simply flip a switch and restart the world. The real danger might be the world the zombies leave behind. Humans could be left living in small, isolated communities as the old world slowly falls apart around them. At that point, the world might look less like World War Z. It might look more like Mad Max. The zombies would no longer be the biggest threat. Hunger, disease, chaos, and the collapse of civilization would be. So, what do you think? What part of a real zombie outbreak would be the most dangerous? And could we actually stop it before it spread too far? Let us know in the comments. And if there's another what if question you want us to explore, drop it below. It might just become our next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to What If Explained TV, where we put impossible questions under the microscope of science and reality. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.